Okay, so in the same way as supply in supply and demand doesn't just show the amount that's produced, nor does the AS function. So what the AS function really tells us is the relationship between price and output. What it's really telling you is it shows the extent to which an economy can meet an increase in AD without experiencing inflation. So it's, we know from before, it's effectively the glass, it's the PPF. But what we're doing is we're building in some element of the price level here. So if we look at, if we take our axes then that we had before, then we said again here we have the price level, here we have real GDP. We know that there must be some sort of limit to how much the economy can produce. There's depending on how complicated you want to get, you could call that the full employment output. Some of you might instead know it as the NERU. The NERU shows the highest level of GDP that the economy can get without experiencing very significant amounts of inflation. It doesn't matter too much. Let's call it full employment for now. We know really that at any given moment in time, then, it's not possible to get past that level of GDP. At that point, every man, woman, child, dog, cat, goldfish, they're all working flat out. There is no, every piece of land is being used, and so on and so forth. There is no possibility, of increasing output further. So what we want to look at is to say, well, let's take an economy and say, well, let's suppose that we're over here initially. Let's suppose we're on AD1, and there is PL1 and Y1, and the economy is initially at point A. How is this economy doing? The answer is, unless I put a discontinuity on there, it's doing spectacularly badly. It's probably got unemployment of about 70% or something, because actual GDP is so far away from potential. In beer and glass terms, at Y1, we have very little beer at all. So what we want to imagine is, well, what happens if there was an increase in aggregate demand from that point? Suppose that aggregate demand rose to AD2. And the question is, do you think, obviously GDP is going to go up. If demand rises, firms are going to want to, produce more output. The question is, do you think that we're going to have inflation? And a good way of deciding is to go back to the restaurant economy, that we thought about before. If we take our restaurant, here's the floor of our restaurant, and here's its tables. We can say that at Y1, probably the restaurant only has a couple of tables being used. And then what happens is a customer comes in. It's like, hooray, another customer. Who fills that table up. The question is, will the restaurant increase its prices at this stage? And unless they're spectacularly stupid, the answer is probably going to be no. They've still got in this restaurant, they've still got 7 tables that are unfilled. Clearly they're facing a lot of competition. The economy's not doing very well. When the economy's not doing very well, you face a lot of competition from other businesses. So you don't want to increase your prices, because you're facing lots of competition, and nor do you really need to. When you think about, when you think about your costs, your landlord who rents you the property, they're desperate for you to stay. They're not increasing your rent, because they know that if you leave, then they'll just have an empty building. Your staff, they're just sitting there being very frightened. They're not coming to you and saying, I want a pay rise. Because they're just scared of losing their job. Therefore, we can expand output probably without any inflation. We can move from A to B. We can simply increase GDP without experiencing any sort of increase in the price level. But obviously, as we start to move closer, if aggregate demand increases again, say AD3, yeah, and then AD4 and AD5, as we start to approach full employment, a set of things are going to happen. Yeah, we know that as we move from, so AD1 to AD2, what we're saying is that there's lots of competition. Between firms, between workers for jobs and so on. Therefore, there's no increase really in the price level. Suppose we move from AD2 to AD3. Then at that stage, what's going to start happening is that we're going to start to get skill shortages. Yeah, so the economy as we move into this zone here. So this is sort of zone 1. Where it's easy to increase GDP. What I'm saying is that in zone 2, it's becoming much more difficult. There are skill shortages starting to appear. In certain sectors, firms can't get the workers that they're going to need. As a result of which, they have to pinch them from other firms, but in order to do that, they have to offer higher and higher wages. Their existing workers are probably saying, hey, demand's rising. There's lots of new businesses, lots of new restaurants starting up down the road. Therefore, I'm going to ask for a pay rise. And as a business, your restaurant is becoming increasingly full. More and more of your tables are being full. So therefore, you feel more confident about the ability to increase your prices. So the skill shortages. There's also less competition between firms. Increasingly, firms have all of the customers that they need. And therefore, what's going to start to happen is that instead of just getting an increase in GDP, the price level, you've got that price level A, price level B, and the Y4, and PLC, and PLD. What's going to happen is that we're going to move to C, to D, to E. We get increasing pressure on the price level as shortages of key factors of production start to appear and as competition between firms is reduced. Obviously, if demand was to increase once again, if it increased still further, to AD6 and AD7, then really at this stage, we could call that sort of zone 3 or something, where the economy has reached its potential. At that stage, you simply can't increase GDP. The restaurant is full, it's booked till Christmas. If you phone up saying, can I have a table? The answer is no, go away. And businesses will just simply start to increase their prices, because to get rid of the excess customers, they might as well make profit while they can. So we'll then move to F and then to G. So when we say, well, what does our aggregate supply function look like? The answer is that down here, it's easy to increase output without inflation. Aggregate supply is relatively horizontal. That's zone 1. In zone 2, we can increase GDP still, but it's getting harder and harder to do so. We're starting to run out of factors of production, and as a result, they're becoming more expensive. There's competition. Firms are competing for a scarce pool of land and labour, key skills and so on. So in zone 2, what we start to see is that inflation starts to rise, although GDP can still increase. And finally, in zone 3, we've hit full employment, and it's impossible, for output to increase any further. Then any increase in aggregate demand is purely inflationary, and that therefore gives you your classic AS shape, whereby there is an area where, obviously there is a level below which prices are unlikely to fall. Firms have costs to pay. There's a zone where price level and GDP can rise together, and finally, kind of a capacity limit determined by the production possibility frontier, beyond which, in the short term at least, we can't go without given factors of production. So that then is your aggregate supply function.